there is definitely something going on within the locker room, the front office. Something is off, man. This is the third situation in one game we have had involving Caitlin Clark and the coaching staff and pretty much another player. And it looked like Caitlin Clark definitely had a situation take place where she had a heated exchange with two assistant coaches on the staff.
The locker room door slammed so violently, it nearly came off its hinges. Inside, voices clashed with a tension that crackled like a live wire. And in that supercharged space, the Indiana Fever's entire season was about to shift in a direction no one saw coming. Caitlin Clark had finally hit her breaking point, and Stephanie White was about to come face to face with the consequences of months' worth of questionable decisions, all boiling over into one explosive confrontation. Now, let's be clear. Clark and Stephanie White clearly respect and even like each other. But that doesn't mean they're always aligned. More and more, it's starting to look like there's a philosophical gap between how each of them views the game, and more specifically, how they believe the Indiana Fever should operate on the court. And what happened inside that locker room didn't stay behind closed doors, it rippled outward, sending shockwaves across the basketball world and leaving fans to wonder if the WNBA's brightest young star was already thinking about packing up and leaving Indiana behind for good. Caitlin Clark reportedly needs to go straight to the front office and demand that Stephanie White be fired. Yes, fired. There's growing belief that the front office will have to make a choice. It's either Clark or White. It was only a matter of time before Caitlin Clark finally confronted her head coach. This was inevitable. The tension had been simmering, and now it was ready to erupt. Honestly, it's time for Caitlin Clark to get the hell out of Indiana. This may very well be the turning point. But let's not pretend this blow-up was caused by a single bad game or a random substitution mistake. This was the result of entire months of simmering tension. It was about the continual misuse of once-in-a-generation talent. It was about a transcendent player feeling like her own coach wasn't elevating her but slowly sabotaging her rise. This was basketball malpractice disguised as strategy. In this footage right here, Caitlin Clark can be seen flat out ignoring the Indiana Fever assistant coaches. She's not interested in anything they have to say. She's done with the drama, done with the nonsense. Look at Austin Kelly, he just shrugs like, whatever. There's clearly a situation unfolding here. Caitlin Clark is visibly furious, and she's not hiding it anymore. The look in her eyes could have stripped paint off the locker room walls. Here's a player who single-handedly turned this team from irrelevant to must-see TV, whose face was plastered across commercials and whose highlights were used to sell tickets. And yet, when the lights are brightest, the coaches bench her like she's some role player. They treat her like a collectible toy still in the box. It's absurd. Did we ever see anything like this at Iowa? No, not once. There were no emotional outbursts toward Lisa Blue. There weren't heated moments with Christy Sides last year. But now something's clearly unraveling, and Caitlin Clark isn't even pretending to hide her frustration anymore. Fans aren't just whispering their grievances in private anymore. They're shouting them loud and clear. Just look at social media during these games. Comment sections read like angry Yelp reviews. I paid to see Caitlin Clark's brilliance, not this clown show. If this is what the Fever are offering, I want a refund on my emotional investment. Once your franchise player feels like she's being marginalized, it's not just a coaching mistake. It's a betrayal to every fan who believed in the vision, who bought the jersey, who traveled just to see her light up an arena. Word on the street is Caitlin Clark told Stephanie White to bench Kelsey Mitchell and Natasha Howard because they don't pass the ball. That may very well be true. There's even a clip floating around of Clark casually tying her shoe right after dishing it off to Howard as if to say, yeah, I'm done with that. It's clear now that there is a deep philosophical rift growing within the team, and this is where you come in. If you're watching all of this unfold, frustrated just like thousands of other passionate fans, smash that like button and drop a free Caitlin in the comments right now. Let's send a message loud enough to shake the Indiana front office out of its stupor. Because at this point, we're not just venting, we're fighting for the future of the WNBA's biggest star. Look, I respect the veterans. I do. But let's not forget, this is Caitlin Clark's team. Did everyone just suddenly forget that? Number 1 overall pick. Rookie of the Year. Shattering records like their chofs. What are we even doing here? Stevie Wonder could see the problem. Where's the Caitlin we saw at Iowa? Where's the Logo 3? We haven't seen that version of her in over a month. And it's not because she lost her touch, it's because of how she's being used. To fully understand how we got here, we need to rewind a few months. It all started with a comment so ridiculous it practically deserved its own laugh track. Last season, Stephanie White, while talking about the NBA, made a remark that went viral for all the wrong reasons. Referring to the Mavericks without Luka Doncic, she said the ball moves better, pops, and that multiple players step up when he's off the floor. Like she was dropping some revolutionary basketball insight. Yes, Stephanie White talking. About Luka Doncic, the guy who dragged Dallas to the NBA Finals. She actually suggested the team looked better without him. You could hear the excitement in her voice. Oh, the ball is moving, it's popping, everyone's involved. It was like a bakery bragging that they sell more donuts after firing their top baker. Bizarre doesn't even begin to cover it. Fans laughed it off. Analysts rolled their eyes. But Stephanie White didn't walk it back. In fact, she doubled down. She proudly adopted that philosophy as her own core belief. No single player should be more important than the system. Now, fast forward to the present. And suddenly her approach in Indiana makes twisted sense. Swap out Luka for Caitlin. Swap out the Mavericks for the Fever. It's the same flawed ideology playing out in real time. The franchise superstar, the one who fills arenas, breaks records, and sells tickets is somehow seen as a hindrance in White's eyes. It's baffling. Stephanie White honestly deserves the Dodo Bird of the Day award. And if the organization refuses to make a coaching change and bring in someone who actually wants to build a team around Clark's talents, then Caitlin should leave. Simple as that. Who do you think fans are showing up to see? No disrespect to the rest of the roster, but let's be real. The CC effect is real, and it's what drives revenue. This wasn't just a bad take. It was her philosophy, her basketball gospel. And once you understand that, everything else makes sense. The weird rotations, the long bench stretches, the stagnant offense, it's all rooted in her core belief that one dominant player ruins the flow. In her ideal offense, the ball whips around like a merry-go-round. Everyone touches it. No one controls it. No one shines too bright. On paper, it sounds democratic. In practice, it looks like a grocery cart with one busted wheel, spinning in circles, crashing into shelves, and going nowhere. The spacing, absolutely horrendous. Watching Caitlin Clark drive down the right side of the lane, only for Natasha Howard to dive toward the basket and drag a second defender into her path, it's maddening. Instead of spacing to the corner, Howard collapses the lane, making Clark's job harder for no reason. The offensive scheme is just a mess. There's no polite way to say it. And truthfully, Stephanie White brought this mess with her from the Connecticut Sun. She's trying to replicate that system here in Indiana, but the pieces don't fit. This isn't Connecticut. And Caitlin Clark isn't just another player. She's the future of the league. And right now, that future is being mismanaged before our eyes.